Please welcome to the inbound stage, Rand Fishkin.
Thank you very much. My goodness. So people like inbound marketing now? That's awesome. It's fantastic. You know, it's been a long few years that Dharmesh and Brian and myself and a number of others have been trying to get this meme of inbound marketing to take off, and looks like it's working. That is incredible. So we have a lot to get through. We only have 59 minutes and 52 seconds. And so what I wanted to do here was not present a classic, here's how to do SEO, and here's the basics of making your site friendly, and here's what Google and Bing are looking for from you, but instead try and think a little bit broader than that. And I've been becoming a big fan of behavioral psychology and of the weird and strange things that we all do. Like we are a very strange organism. We do very, very strange things. Some of those things are very helpful, and others can be very harmful. And so what I want to do in my talk today is talk about some of the biases, the irrational biases that harm our marketing efforts, and ways that you can change those biases, recognize them, and then ignore them. So let's start with a story. I want to talk first about dating. Are lots of you fans of the OK Trends website, OkCupid? Like, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you read OK. Is everyone in Boston, like, super attractive? Do you guys just not? You don't need to do online dating because you're like, no, I do not have problems going to dates. I go to bars, and people of the gender I prefer flock to me. Is that? So sadly, in Seattle, we are not nearly as attractive, and so we have to do this thing called online dating. And it's a hyper-useful, rational economic market, except it's not. You would think it should be, but it's not. So I want you to take a look at what I've got up on the screen here. OK, so here we are, and what we're looking at on the left-hand side here is male messaging rates and attractiveness rates. So first, I want you to pay attention to the dotted line. Do you see the dotted line there? This is how attractive men rate women, on average, across 1.2 million member profiles on OkCupid. Do you notice something about that line? Women are very attractive to men, right? Like, the distribution is ridiculous. It's not a bell curve. Basically, it starts high, gets higher, and ends high. It's just high. People really, like, men think women are attractive. I'm going to point your attention over here. No, you knew this was coming, right? So do you see the distribution on that curve? It looks like someone cut the bell in half and shoved the left side over to the right side. It just, like, men, I have bad news for you. It's sad. But there's good news too, right? The good news is, see this distribution rate of messaging, the dark blue line here? What that shows is that we are not nearly as logical as we perceive ourselves to be, because men are disproportionately messaging the most attractive women, which this makes sense, right? We've understood this to be a thing that happens in the dating world. Look at women. Look where women are messaging. They're messaging at, like, the low to mid-level attractiveness. I don't know what's going on here, but thank God it's happening, because otherwise people like me would never get dates. Luckily, I am very happily married. I had success 11 years ago prior to the online dating thing starting, but I'm fascinated by this. And there's some really interesting, unique things that happen in the world of online dating, including the search process. So the search process, if you go and join OkCupid today, I actually created a membership profile. I asked my wife, I'm like, honey, I'm going to set up a dating profile. Don't freak out. I have to. It's for science. It's for marketing. And here you go, right? So let's say I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself as a young woman and you're searching for a man. So let's say you're a straight young woman, you're a hetero young woman, searching for a male, and you might have features like these. In fact, this is one of the most common types of searches. I want guys who like girls. Okay, that's fair. Ages 25 to 35, sure, within 25 miles of Boston. Online last year, have a photo, are single, at least 5 feet 9 inches. At least 5 feet 9 inches. In fact, that is exactly the distribution that OK Trends' data shows is the problem. Right there. And here it is. The height is actually holding you back. It is an artificial, irrational bias that is holding, I say this as a 5'8 3/4" man, that it is holding you back. Look at these success rates for dating. Look at the height distribution, right? So first off, the men are lying to you on the website because that light purple line, that's actually the US distribution curve of male height, and the purple line is the distribution of men on OK Trends. What do you think are the chances? Probably not very good, right? Like probably pretty darn bad. Height is holding you back. If you can just take away that height limitation, that irrational bias, you can get everything else you want in a mate. I'm serious. I'm totally serious. This irrational bias, for 2 reasons. Number one, because a lot of men don't fit that profile, and the ones who do, the ones who are tall, are out-messaged from the rest. The attractiveness rating is only one piece of the pie. Height for men looks like attractiveness for women. Tall men get disproportionately sought out. And because of this, if you remove this one irrational bias, you can get all these other things. You can get high income, high education, you can get 4-star average attractiveness ratings, you can get people who've answered all the questions and kept up to date with their profiles. These short men are desperate. They are. It's math. I want to tell you a story about that exemplifies this so perfectly, because some people remember data and some people remember stories. This photo was taken at my wedding in 2008. Right, honey? I think she's in here. Was taken at my, and this is the woman who married us. This is Sarah Bird. She's also the COO at SEO Moz. And Sarah presided over the ceremony. Just 2 weeks, maybe a little less than 2 weeks prior, her boyfriend, then fiance, now husband and father to her son, Eric, is a decorated military captain who was serving in Iraq. And he got back from Iraq just a few days earlier. You may notice something interesting about him, possibly related to the talk I'm giving. Do you notice it? It stands out just a little bit. Now, let me tell you that Eric is basically a dream gentleman. He's a Southern gentleman with the manners to boot, but he has the political philosophies of a Seattle hipster. He went to the University of Chicago writing program, and he is currently writing a book. He is literally one of the most well-versed literary people I've ever met in my life, and most cerebral and just incredibly generous. But he is about half an inch shorter than Sarah. This irrational bias that she removed enabled something amazing. And what I want to do now is apply the same principle to the practice of SEO and to broader marketing in general. I'm going to do that with about a dozen examples. All right, so let's start with these 12 irrational biases. Number one. Many times when you contract an SEO, when you hire an SEO in-house, when you start doing SEO yourself, you think, what do I need to do to win at SEO? Rank higher. I must rank higher. Ranking position is what matters. And I've actually got a great case study here from the folks at Slingshot SEO, which is out of Indianapolis. They put up a case study on the SEO Moz site about click-through rate position. And this is much better and much newer than the old AOL data, which sort of showed more random stuff. But average click-through rate, right? So the highest height of #1 position average click-through rate is 18.2% for unbranded queries, right? So if I search for HubSpot or if I search for inbound marketing conference, I'm probably clicking that top result quite a bit. But if you remove for that, if you instead say I'm looking for web marketing software or I'm looking for conferences in Boston, then it's a different story, right? That click distribution rate drops off dramatically. And what's actually going on is something a little bit different, because here I've taken a search query for 3D printing. You can see it on the right-hand side there. And I want you to actually think for a second, which result are you going to click? Surprisingly, it's probably not that first result. And the reason is because those other results look a lot sexier. The click-through rate is actually influenced by a lot more than just ranking position. Yes, ranking position on average is sort of an overwhelming winner, but combined with all sorts of other signals, it is not the case. By the way, I see some of you taking photos. That is totally fine. I'm sure, you know, shrimpy Jewish guy next to slides looks amazing. But if you want, you can get all of these slides online at bit.ly/chooseshortmen. So all available for download. Choose short men, right? This is influenced by all of these other things, right? The star ratings. You saw the star ratings on Amazon. That helps their click-through rate. The author photo. This is through rel author, which I'll talk about in a little bit, actually. That rel author photo can get you massively higher click-through rate. The date of publication, which shows if you've published something and it's been fresh on the web. The video snippet, which you can get through a service called Video XML Sitemaps. All of these things influence click-through rate. If you think about doing SEO, you might think, oh, I'm constantly trying to get my position up, I'm constantly trying to rank higher, and that's okay, but take away the irrational bias of ranking position is all that matters, because it's not. Fascinating story, SEO Moz itself used to rank #1, 2, and 3 for a search query term. I think it was SEO Guide. Maybe it was Ranking Factors. And when we had that top 3 position, I remember being fascinated because I captured it. The 3rd position had a picture of me next to it because it was using my rel author profile, so that I got my little photo next to it in Google's results. And when I looked at the traffic, the 3rd result was getting more traffic from that Google query than the first 2 combined. Position #3, more traffic than the first 2 combined. Who needs rankings? I'll just take my clicks. You guys go, whatever you want to do. You buy your links and you shove keywords in there and you try and get those top titles. I'm just going to put my photo next to this, and I'm going to be in lots of people's Google Plus circles, and I'm going to win. Amazing. So in order to do this, great snippets start with great titles, URLs, and descriptions. Fascinating piece of research from Microsoft recently, by the way, noted that the URL, specifically the domain name, is a huge biaser of click activity. So right, this is Microsoft looking at the Bing search engine and saying, wow, people really click if they know and like and trust the brand of the domain name that they see. Oh, and by the way, if you have 2 hyphens in your domain name, forget it, right? They just, like, people automatically think you're spam. And if you have 1, they kind of suspect you have spam. And if you have keywords in the domain name and you're not a well-known brand like hotels.com or weather.com, they also suspect you of spam. At least the click-through rate distribution would indicate that they do. So make this as important as you make writing your ad copy for AdWords or for something that's going to go on a billboard. This is seen potentially by thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of searchers. You should take the time to make sure that these snippets look beautiful. This rel author process, I talked about this a lot, getting your profile photo next to it. I've got a URL down here. I have URLs for all of this stuff because I don't want to walk you through exactly the process and have to spend time on the tactics. So you can go to AJ Cohn's website, Blind 5-Year-Old, and actually see the process for setting up rel author. It's surprisingly easy. I don't know how to code, and I still did it. Very, very simple. Video XML sitemaps, same story. The service that we use for this is called Wistia, which is a company here in Boston, W-I-S-T-I-A. And Wistia makes this really easy. They've got a guide here. But there are other ways to do it too. You can actually embed from every video service except YouTube and get the video XML sitemaps. If you want to do YouTube, Google wants to get the video. They like their own traffic, what can I say? It's dog fooding. Let's just call it that. We'll be friendly to them. There's another possibility, rich snippets, right? This is what gives Amazon their star ratings. This is what gets you all that gray text on your LinkedIn profile that says, I'm director of such and such at so-and-so in this city. This is possible through the rich snippets format and through schema.org, which Google supports and Bing does as well. You can read more about how to get those down there. Particularly valuable, by the way, in the recipe search section. All right, so link building sucks. I know. I did it for about the first 3-4 years of my career. That's basically all I did was link building. And we have this notion in the SEO world that in order to be good at SEO, in order to rank for the things we want to rank, we have to do active link building, meaning we have to go out there and find sites that are linked to our competitors and find sites that could potentially link to us and acquire those links. And I think this is actually an irrational bias as well. You can naturally earn links, and the best links, the ones that Google wants to count forever and ever until hopefully someone dethrones them as the major search engine, is, fingers crossed, is the best links build themselves. This is my wife's blog, The Everywhereist, and I put it through Open Site Explorer. I put it through Open Site Explorer, and I looked at a bunch of links that are pointing to her. So, you know, sometimes when a man and woman are in a relationship, and one of them tries to give the other one advice, have you ever maybe been in that situation? Sometimes it goes awesome, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, honey, we should stop at so-and-so's house on our way home. Great. And sometimes it's, honey, you know, if you just did some keyword research before you put up this blog post, shut up, I don't want to do keyword research. I don't want to do SEO. I'm sure you're good at it, but it's not for me. I want to authentically build my site. I'm not into the SEO thing. I think you can be authentically into your site and do SEO, but we can have disagreements about this. It's a running joke in our household. But Geraldine, despite never doing any SEO, not one time, never asking for a link, well, okay, one time she sort of did by tweeting, but I had to push her on it. I might have had to log into her account to do it. Look who's linking to her. Delta.com, Discover Magazine, CBS Local, Blogger, Forbes, Huffington Post. Wow. Those are some fantastic links, and they do wonderful things to her search traffic. It's this relationship building that she does essentially purely through building great content that people want to consume and read, and you can see this all over the internet. People who don't know and haven't done SEO ranking extremely well based on the fact that they are great writers and great influencers and great relationship builders. And I love this idea. So I wanted to give you one very, very tactical, hyper-tactical tip for this process. A lot of the time, when you're trying to relationship build, one of the toughest things to do is to reach out to someone and find their email address, the email address connected with a website. And so this super handy tool from a guy named Adam Loving in Seattle who runs a startup called Linksy is a tool where you can literally plug anyone's name. Dharmesh, sorry for using you. Everyone knows your email now. You don't get much email, do you? He's somewhere around here. You can plug in their first name, last name, and the domain at which you think their email is, and then it will query Reportive, and it will pull up a photo, if you are correct, right, of Dharmesh, photo of Dharmesh, next to his email address. There it is. What do you know? Fantastic. So tactical, but great outreach system. It's the Highlander. The first movie was great, and then they made a TV show, and then they made more series. Basically, after Sean Connery died, they should have just stopped it. He didn't die in real life. Don't tweet that. He's totally fine. I realize it was a poor timing on that sip of water, but he died in the movie. Oh no, now I'm giving away the movie. Maybe he died in the movie. He might have died. You should watch it and find out. People have this idea in the SEO world that if I want to rank well, I need to exclusively talk and write and blog and put up pages about my specific topic. Exactly, if I want to sell paper shredders, I should be very careful to talk about paper shredders all the time. This is not just an irrational bias, it's a myth left over from the early 2000s when this was kind of more the case when it came to search engine optimization. And it's not really the truth today at all. In fact, today, what I would suggest is that you take the ruler, right, that I've got behind me here, and look at writing about anything that has potential overlap with the areas of topical interest of your audience. Right? Essentially, what I'm saying is it doesn't need to be relevant necessarily to current customers. It can be. It doesn't need to be relevant to potential customers. Hopefully, what I'd like you to do is just work on something, write something, film something, photograph something, put something on the site that is relevant to anyone with the possibility of interacting with potential customers. And if you think bigger than just that singular topic, you will vastly expand where you can go with your content. And this is great because many of the sessions here at the Inbound Marketing Conference are talking about it, but expanding that content opportunity area is a phenomenal way to expand where you can get links from, who you can get links from, whose email addresses you might reach, where you could get press and reporters, how you could build your brand, how you could get people to your site that then you could turn into lead captures and influencers and all these wonderful, wonderful things. The broad topics that you can potentially include in your site are going to also provide this rising tide, right? So we talk about this in the SEO world a lot, and yet there's still this hyper-focus on topic singularity, which I think is completely irrational. That all the links, right? So think about a domain on the web, right? It has hundreds, maybe thousands of pages on it, and if I'm trying to get page A to rank well, most of the time, what SEOs think of doing is pointing links to page A, all right? Or optimizing page A, or decreasing the load time of page A, or increasing the usability of page A, or putting better content on page A. And that's fine, and this does work. But if pages B, C, D, E, and F all get some new links from places that have never linked to the website before, that rising tide will lift the rankings of page A. In fact, potentially more so than if it were to just earn links on its own. This is because of the concept of domain authority. And domain authority is strongly influential in the world of SEO for both Google and Bing. Number 4, Twitter and Facebook. I am done with social. What do you know? Social, check mark. Finished. This is not the truth, right? This is an irrational bias that comes from, in my opinion, it comes from a lot of press that writes almost exclusively about these two networks, particularly in the marketing field. Now, the folks at HubSpot have done a very good job with this, and several others in the space have as well. But I read so many articles from Business Insider to Hacker News to Forbes that talk about how social media marketing is essentially Facebook and Twitter. Total irrationality. So this is a count of a fairly recent, fairly up-to-date count of approximate numbers of individuals actively using the following social networks, right? Google+, 200 million active users. And I know there's skepticism around this, but I guarantee that it is accurate. Now, it may only be accurate in the sense of your Android phone is automatically uploading photos to it, and you are seeing them on there, right? But those people are on that network. And in fact, Google+ has been, particularly in the marketing sphere, my God, there is a ton of activity on there. One of the things I will say about Google+ is that for my profile there, I have about a little less than 2/3 the followers on Google+ that I've got on Twitter. And yet, when I share a link on Google+, the click-through rate is considerably higher, such that a link placed on Google+ will drive approximately the same number of visits to a link that I share as a link that I share on Twitter. And some of that's the temporal factor, right? The fact that stuff falls off of Twitter much quicker and loses out in the stream as opposed to Google+, where it sticks around a little longer. But that's still a phenomenal amount of value, right? You could have fewer followers on Google+ and get more value than you might from a network where you have more followers. So strongly recommended. Facebook's still the giant, right? They have 900 million. Twitter has around 200 million as well. LinkedIn at 150 million. Foursquare at 20 million. StumbleUpon at 15 million. StumbleUpon can drive amazing traffic, by the way. If you get on there and you get hot and lots of people are thumbing up your stuff, whoa, it blows stuff away. Reddit, same story. Incredible traffic opportunity. Very, very low brand engagement. But if you're trying to build those 5, 6, 7 brand touches so that people remember and know and like your brand, just like you do with a lot of television advertising or media sponsorship or those kinds of things, Reddit and StumbleUpon can be great options. And there's more, right? Tumblr and Wikipedia and Pinterest, and even some that I haven't included on here. But the idea that you would exclusively stay on Twitter and Facebook is probably a little bit of insanity. So I went ahead and grabbed SEO Mouse's social referrals, right, from Google, and you can see here. Okay, so Facebook and Twitter are by far the leaders, but actually if you add up the rest of those, it's getting pretty close. It's getting to about, I think, not quite matching with one of them, right? So around that 30,000 mark, which is kind of amazing. There's a long tail of social networks that drive a lot of activity, and if our community manager and our social media team, which is comprised of, right now, 2.5, 3 people, weren't spending time on these other networks, we wouldn't be driving activity from them and growing those channels. This is an awesome one. Number 5, it's the facepalm. So there's this idea out in the world that I need to create viral content, right? My job as a marketer is to try and have a few pieces, maybe one piece every week, a couple of pieces every month. Maybe they're videos, maybe they're slide presentations, maybe they're just blog posts, maybe it's a product page, but it's attempting to go viral. It's attempting to reach a bigger audience than what I ordinarily reach. And this is a great plan. I urge you to do this, because even if you fail at this, it's fine. You will eventually have some success. The irrational bias comes into play when I see someone who's sent me something fantastic, right? They've created some phenomenal viral content, and then they have this weird reaction of, oh, well, I tweeted it, and I put it on Facebook, and I submitted it to a couple sites, and I tried to email a few folks like yourself, and it didn't look like it worked, so we're going to try something else. You have just driven a bus to Crazy Town. Crazy Town, population U. This is the truth here, right? The truth is that just because a viral content effort fails that one time, that first time, this does not mean that it can't be either A, repurposed, B, rebuilt at the same URL, by the way. So story here. See this guide here, this SEO Moz Beginner's Guide to SEO? So for a few years, we've been warring with Google, right? We kind of want the top position. They probably kind of want the top position. They're Google. You would think they would win, right? Like they could push a button and probably win. Maybe they will after this. I don't know. Don't anyone tell them. Shh. No, I'm kidding, right? But look, we've been able to outrank them. In fact, for the past year and a half, pretty consistently, we've been able to outrank them. This is in a non-logged-in browser, so I'm not getting biased by personalization or by my geography or those kinds of things, right? When we launched it, we were, way behind not just Google, but a lot of other people. And it wasn't that initial success, that initial viral content success, propelled us over the edge. What did it is the 4 times over the last 6 years that we've updated the guide. Updated it, blogged about the new update, shared the new update, gotten new input from more people, kept it at the same URL, meaning that all those ranking signals, right, the links and the social signals and the usage and user data signals and the content signals all live at this same URL, but it just keeps getting bolstered. Every single time we relaunch it, every time we update it, it gets new and more and better signals and has the ability to rank higher and higher. It was only after the third time that we were able to move up into that top ranking position. So if you're doing viral content, think very carefully about, are there ways I can update it? Is there a way this could be something we do every year or every 2 years? This is an annual thing. Is there some way we could involve more people in it in the future and get it back out there? Don't think that just because you have a great effort and it fails that one time that it's all over. It's not. Viral is going to fail 9 out of 10 times. In fact, I've had pieces that I thought, oh my God, I can't wait for tomorrow morning, the internet's gonna blow up, and then it's like, oh look, 3 people tweeted about it. No, yeah, your predictive ability on this, even the experts' predictive ability on viral stuff is not fantastic. But luckily, particularly if no one sees it, right? You have it in your mind that like you and your team have been looking at this piece of content and therefore you can't redo it because everyone's already seen it. Why would they link to it? No, 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 no. If it didn't work, that means it was the tree falling in the forest. That means you have a new chance to reach everybody else next time and earn all those wonderful signals and the branding and the value and the leads that could come along with that. Bias number 6. I should only choose high volume search keywords, right? The ones that I want to go after are the ones that I can see right here in the AdWords tool. This is the Google AdWords tool, which I've taken a screenshot of, that have high volume, lots of people searching for them on a regular monthly basis. So I'm pretending to be a web hosting guy here, right? Let's say I'm Jason Jason Cohen from WP Engine. Some people probably know him. Dharmesh knows him. Very friendly guy. Really great company. It's what I've done a bunch of my WordPress hosting on in the past. And you can see in here, right, if Jason goes in and he looks, he's going to see things like, oh, free web hosting sites and web hosting companies, Google web hosting services, cheap web hosting. All right, but these are going to be hyper competitive. Oh, by the way, please, see this column right here? This is another myth. This is not an irrationality. This is just like a myth. That only refers to AdWords. Only refers to the pay per click, does not refer to how tough it will be to rank for in SEO. And oftentimes, weirdly, there's not a high correlation between the two. So do your keyword difficulty research. All right. That said, in fact, the truth here is that you should do something much more like this. So I've taken the liberty of constructing a fake long tail curve, distribution curve for searches, but this is actually pretty close to accurate. Hitwise has done some great research around this, and I have another chart, but I couldn't quite fit it into the slide very well. So the top area, that's like what we like to call in the SEO world the fat head. The fat head terms, these would be things like, I've got examples, right? Lady Gaga or web hosting. Very, very challenging to rank for, right? In the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of searches per month. Then you get into the chunky middle. And the chunky middle is a beautiful place to operate because keyword research is relatively easy. Google will show you the terms that people are searching for. It can have high competitiveness though, right? Because if you can see those terms, so can everyone else who's trying to rank for those keywords. The long tail is a beautiful, wonderful, magical place. So one of my favorite stats ever from Google, and they repeated this, I think it was the end of last year. At the end of last year, they had an updated stat. The statistic is this. At Google, 18% of all the searches we see every day have never been performed before in the history of the search engine. Never. Not one time has anyone ever searched for nearly 1/5 of all the searches Google gets. Can you believe what weird, unique snowflakes we are as people? Tyler Durden was right. If you can target this weird long tail, the area where very few people are doing searches, but there are tons of them, and they comprise together, right? The long tail taken together is nearly a perfect example of Chris Anderson's book from many, many years ago, The Long Tail, right? Which was refuted in the music industry. Chris Anderson posited that 70% of the demand exists in the long tail in any given industry, and only 30% is in the visible head, right? And so he said, you know, people who are looking for music by Lady Gaga and the Foo Fighters and, you know, Madonna and the Smiths and whatever, right? Those are in the 30%. And then there's all the bands you've never heard of and the music you've never heard of, and that's in the 70%. And the music industry, they were relatively able to debunk this. It's a business of hits, right? That's not true. But the search world is not a business of hits. The search world, particularly if you control for navigational searches, meaning remove all the things where people are just trying to go to a website, that long tail is huge. And Jason could do amazing things, and actually does do amazing things. I appreciate that, Jason. He ranks very, very well for fast WordPress hosting, fastest WordPress hosting, best fast WordPress hosting. Great job. Targeting the end of those, targeting the specific customers, even though there's very, very little, relatively speaking, search volume for that. If you want to do some keyword research in this long tail, particularly ahead of when that data is going to make it into Google AdWords tool, suggest. Search suggest. So what I recommend doing is going and doing this. Go to Google, start typing, do not hit the return button. Do not hit the enter key. What you will see is a list of terms that people are connecting with the terms that you're typing in and searching for frequently. And very often, it is the case that those words are not the same ones that you will see if you go to Google AdWords tool and search for keyword and do some keyword research. This tool, by the way, pulls it in automatically. It's called Uber Suggest. It's anyone's guess as to how long Google will tolerate them programmatically pulling in all this search data, but for now, it works great, so give it a shot. It's a good one. And if you want to do keyword research on what people are about to search for but have not yet, go to Google News, click on the left-hand side of the browser, see where they have all the different categories, choose the categories that relate to you, and look at the top stories. Those words and phrases that appear in the title of news items, those are the things that people will be looking for in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And probably quite a bit in the next 2 or 3 days. So if you can get that content out quick, you can have a huge success. Number 7. The only place that you should do SEO is on your own site, right? Why would I want to do SEO? Why would I want to optimize keywords and put good content and earn links to a place that is not my own website? That's actively hurting me, right? That's crazy. Crazy like a fox. If you go and do some YouTube video SEO, it's true that YouTube will get the visits, and it's true that they will own that traffic, right? That those people might stay on YouTube, they might not come over to you. But that is a branding touch that is nearly impossible to get anywhere else, right? What we do at Moz, that we've started to do, is we have a new YouTube channel. The YouTube channel puts up the Whiteboard Friday videos that I do every week, mostly me, some other people too, puts those up on SEO Moz via Wistia, which means we get the video XML sitemap and the nice rich snippet, and we can get that traffic. But we also put them up on YouTube with a different keyword phrase, with a keyword phrase that we didn't target on our own website. It's a 2-for-1. It's like back in the days, when the coupons would come out and it'd be like buy 2, get 1 free, buy 1, get 1 free. Yay! YouTube, amazing. SlideShare. I do a ton of embedding on embeds with SlideShare, and because SlideShare has this easy embed system, and I can upload, for example, bit.ly, choose short men, right? This is on SlideShare right now, and I bet you, in fact, I'm going to say that when I walk off this stage and go check my phone, this presentation on SlideShare will be ranking in the top 5 for choose short men. If I'm wrong, you can ignore the advice from this section. But I bet I'm not wrong. I bet I'm right. And because of that, SlideShare is an incredibly powerful SEO tool. It's another way for you to control search results for your brand name, for keywords you want to rank for, to bump other people out of the search results. Fantastic. Quora, LinkedIn, all the news sites, right? Places where you're getting either press releases promoted or you're having actual news items about your brand. Another phenomenal way to go. Those amazing PR specialists, like the best ones, can get the reporter to write in the way that they want them to write, and that means including the keywords they want them to include, and this means ranking for what you want to rank for. Bias number 8. This one is a little crazy to me. I see fewer marketers in the social world having this irrationality, but But I do see a lot of people who are in the SEO world or in the broader media world having this idea that if I want to do social, my job with social is merely share the things I produce and then respond, right? I have to be in my community manager mode and engage. But when I want to share stuff, I just share it once, done, finished. That bus to crazy town just drove to Insanityville. This is a tool called Follower Wonk. It was a great tool. I have been recommending them for years. And I think I recommended them so much that I decided our company, SEO Moz, had to buy them. So we just acquired them, which was super cool and fun. But what it's showing on my Twitter account, I've connected my Twitter account here, and I'm looking at this, and I can see that at the peak time, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific, when the most people who are following me on Twitter are online tweeting, that's about, what does it say, 6.7%? That's pathetic. That's super sad. That means the absolute highest number of clicks I could drive by tweeting at that time, if everyone saw it, is my number of followers times 0.067. Yikes. That sucks. It's super lame. What if, instead, I tweeted just twice? Once at night, once in the morning. Now I can capture almost 30% more again and probably have extremely little overlap. And so you'll see me doing this. I put out a new blog post around 2 a.m. last night, and I tweeted it again this morning around 11 a.m. And you could see that on my bit.ly that I went from about 300 shares to about 550. Hey, that's a lot more people seeing it and retweeting it and sharing it and all those kinds of things. This is a fascinating one. I do not have Dan Zarella quality social scientist data around this. However, I have been analyzing my own account, and that's what I would urge all of you to do. Well, I haven't been doing it. I've had our captain of special projects at Moz do it. But what he found is, on average, I get more clicks if I put my link in the middle of words than if I put it at the beginning or the end, right? So if I have text, link, text, highest click-through rate on average. If I go link, text, 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 not as good. If I go text, 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 link, not as good. And same story for if I put, for if I put hashtags directly next to, or at names directly next to URLs. It seems that, just like you might expect, right, that it stands out more when it's on its own, when that blue link stands out from the rest of the text inside Twitter, and this applies to Facebook and applies to Google Plus and all these other ones too. When it stands out more, it gets more clicks. Not totally surprising, but totally interesting from an optimization standpoint. This applies very much so in Google Plus and in Facebook, where the snippets matter so much. The snippet is pulled from, right, the image, which Facebook and Google Plus will both try to pull, and it's pulled from the meta description, the title and meta description. So titles and meta descriptions, awesome for your search results for SEO, also now awesome for Facebook and for Google Plus. I would urge you not to ignore these. You can remove the description if you want to, but you can get more click-through rate if you have great ones. One of the tricks that I absolutely love that our community manager, Janita, her name's Jen Lopez, but Jen Lopez was weirdly already taken on Twitter. I don't know who has that. What she does is she will actually take an image capture of the graphic, upload the graphic to Facebook or Google Plus so that it fills up the screen and then share it with the link. This works so much better than when she just does the auto snippet that pulls from the image in the post. Very, very tactical, but super effective. All right, bias number 9. Well, they're search engines, right? They like text. They just want to see what the text is on the page. Nope. Irrational bias. Lots of forms of content work well, and many work better than just text alone, particularly from a perspective of getting shared, getting linked to, getting emailed to friends. Having that distribution is far more effective than having a perfect keyword formula or a list of words in blocks of text. And by the way, massively, massively more readable and enjoyable for us consumers of the content that you do. So I would urge you to think on the scale of creative presentation. This is Ben the Bodyguard website. You should check it out when you have a minute via the slides. Very, very creative presentation, visual presentation through CSS. As you scroll down, this bodyguard will walk through the city and explain security processes to you. But it's fascinating, and it's done in like a film noir sense, and it's beautiful. Bias number 10. When I need links, I should just go look at all the people who link to my competitors' links. I pose to you a logical problem. What if you had all the links that your competitor had, minus the few that you couldn't get? How well would you rank? That's right, you would rank directly below them, if not a little bit lower. Because these links may help you. They might be some that you should seek out. But if you can broaden that, focus beyond just the keywords and sites that are in your direct competition bucket and go after broader themes, right? Think about that broader theme I was talking about from a topic perspective. It works equally well from a link building perspective. So finding something, let's say I'm going after a letterpress paper, or paper engraving. I might also look at who's ranking for letterpress. I might also look at who's ranking for design goods. I might also look at who's ranking for paper stock. I would try and broaden that out, and I would look at the links that point to all of those types of people, and I would try and chase some of those. It's the links that your competitors cannot get that will be the most valuable to you over time. Number 11, this one is going to be controversial, and I debated putting it in here, but I feel it is an irrational bias. So the first thing I want you to do is to not tweet at Matt Cutts. Here's at Randfish being a black hat on stage at Inbound 12. Because you know how tweets are public and I can find you? That's not why, but you don't do that, because that is not what I mean to talk about here. Most of the time, when you hear, I want to buy links, what you are getting is something spammy and something manipulative and something that Google will hate and will come after you for, and this is why they have hundreds of smart engineers who are extremely well paid sitting in Building 42 in Mountain View trying to catch you and developing algorithms called things like Penguin. But what I am saying is that there are things that cost money that earn you links. And when you are thinking about the value you get from doing all sorts of things, event participation being one, I'll show a couple other examples, you should be thinking about justifying some of that spend from the SEO value that you will get, the return on investment that you'll get from the links and the shares and the other people who will attend these things and see your brand and potentially link to you in the future or follow you. Job ads works this way, right? Acquisitions, companies that you buy, blogs that you buy, content you buy, people that you acquire. I have this sneaking suspicion. I've seen a couple of acqui-hires in Silicon Valley in the last 6 months that I think were SEO. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they wanted the team. They probably wanted the team, but they were like, hey, if instead of you just joining our company, we pay money for you, and then we tell the press that we paid some money for you, we'll get links out the bajillions. I'm so proud when I see like Silicon Valley people picking up on SEO, because usually they ignore it, which is good for the rest of us, but bad for them. Sponsoring research. This stuff costs money. Right? This is a sponsorship that SEO Moz and HubSpot did together recently on SEO industry survey. Pressworthy news costs money. It's possible. So I think what happened was when we were on the call with Brad Feld, who recently invested in SEO Moz, he mentioned, I'd be happy to do a press quote for whatever you're doing as long as I get to use the word, it's a word that starts with F and means reproduction. As long as I get to use that word in the press release, I'd be happy to do a quote. And so we created a very creative press release, and it did very, very well. And it cost money, but it earned a lot of links from a lot of places we had never been written about in before. Bias number 12. My last bias is that there's no easy, simple, push a button and I get traffic, or I get more traffic. I improve my website's traffic. How is it possible that there are these things? But yet, there are. Some of them are so simple, they're right in front of us. The first one, site speed optimization. Make your website just a little bit faster. Just a little bit, a couple of seconds. Maybe 1.5 seconds if that's all you can do. And your traffic will benefit in massive disproportion to the speed that you have added. This is a slide. These are 2 slides from John Coleman, who's now, I think, the information architect with REI in Seattle, right, which is a big outdoors brand. And what John was showing in his presentation, which I've linked to here, is that a small increase, I think their site speed increase was about 20 to 30% site speed increase across the site, depending on the page. And it resulted in not only dramatically more amounts of traffic, but in Google, so he talked about the traffic and he talked about the ROI in terms of sales, right? So sales went up pretty considerably. But Google also started crawling a lot more pages from them. And they started indexing a lot more pages. And the average time that it took them to index those pages went down. And thus, the traffic, particularly for long tail, went way up. And long tail for REI means product pages, and product pages mean intent to buy, and intent to buy means high conversion rate, and high conversion rate means more sales. Site speed, amazing way to go. Super simple, will bring you returns not only from the SEO benefits, but from all the accessibility benefits too. Go take a look at your website. You can, so there's a couple of tools out there. There's a few I'd recommend. One is called, what's the monkey crawler? Do you know what I'm talking about? I've lost it, but I'll come back to it in a sec. The other 2 are Google Webmaster Tools and Bing Webmaster Tools, both of which are free. You will, when you go to them and register your site, they'll show you the 404s and some of the 500s. They won't show you 302s and a few other types of errors. They will show you blocked by robots.txt. You can merely apply fixes to things that you thought search engines were able to crawl or that people were linking to and are now broken and recapture that traffic and recapture that SEO juice. You may find that you have old pages that lots of great places link to that could have been rising the tide of the rankings of all your pages, and in fact, they are not because they are broken. Fixing them is great. This is, by the way, from Open Site Explorer, which you could certainly use on this, but I might try some other ones. And SEO Moz can help with this stuff too. And then the last one that I want to mention, as a total simple way to turn up your traffic, particularly if you're doing great things in inbound, is retargeting. And you're thinking to yourself, well, Rand, retargeting is paid media. I know, but it still works great. It really does. It's magical. It's amazing, right? Casey goes and visits our website, right? And then we follow him around the web like a lost puppy. You're like, Casey, do you want to take a free trial? And Roger's super smiley, and he's got this cute little robot. And it works amazingly well. It brings back people to the SEO Moz site very impressively well. And it's one of the highest converting channels once people get there through that channel. It adds about 15% to our conversions. So when we added retargeting, that's about the percent that we got, and that maintains itself. It's around 12 to 15% of our conversions come through retargeting, which is a flip the switch, get more traffic methodology. So it's just after 3 p.m. I want you to take this philosophy, this idea of removing irrational biases, and not just apply it in the 12 ways that I've shown you here, but I want you to take it and apply it to all of inbound marketing. It is incredible the things that you can do when you take those individual features that everyone else in the world believes to be true, but you have discovered to be false, and you invest in them. This works in dating, this works in building companies, this works in marketing. I can only imagine the other places where this works. Thank you very much.